first reason why an inner child would be upset when you start to take steps for your divine purpose and your spiritual leadership, number one, it would be because if you don't have an established healing, creative relationship with the inner child, your inner child, they just see spirituality as and even spiritual leadership as another thing that you're putting in front of them and keeping you away from connecting with them. It's really important to think of your inner child as a child, to visualize your child as a child outside of you. Your inner child lives within you, but the reason why I like to use that visualization is because so often people don't treat their inner child the way they would treat an actual child running around outside of them. So like, if you saw a beautiful 5-year-old girl outside of you, like an actual little girl, and she was crying in a corner, would you yell at her? Would you tell her she did her homework terrible and that she wasn't going to get dinner because she didn't do her homework right? But that is actually how many of us speak to the child within. Or we don't even know that the child is there. We don't even know how to access that child, and that child's been ignored for so long that they almost feel like a frozen part of the adults, of your adult self. And so these activation steps in the Quan Yin module are designed to get you in touch with this incredible part of your own consciousness. Like this innocence of your inner child, it's always there. It never goes away. It never changes. It's always going to be a part of you that is going to keep you honest. In Quan Yin's chapter, she talks about in her teachings that your inner child consciousness is the part of you that will always know if someone is not treating you well, even if your adult mind wants to minimize abuse or neglect. Your inner child knows when you're not having enough fun to balance out how much you're working. And so if you go to step into spiritual leadership and you're never playing, you're always working, you're never doing anything other than work, your inner child is going to start to throw a fit to get your attention. And she or he or they are doing that so that you can come into balance. But when we first start to come into contact with the inner child, they've been so ignored for so long. Like imagine a 7-year-old that you've just met. No, imagine a 7-year-old that's been around you for your whole life. But the whole time you haven't said their name, you haven't talked to them, you haven't offered them any nourishment or fun. And then all of a sudden you join a spiritual class and you're supposed to have a play date with that 7-year-old. And that 7-year-old is like, F you. You haven't talked to me in 30 years. You haven't talked to me in 40 years. You haven't talked to me in 60 years. Get out of here, lady. I don't trust you at all. Imagine if that 7-year-old, no one had ever given them a hug. No one had ever taken into consideration what they needed or wanted. So I went through a really incredible process when I realized that this was a part of my consciousness, of course, through Quan Yin's mentorship, that really needed my loving attention. I mean, like, wow. It was staggering, the depth of healing a journey I had to embark upon. And it actually really started to come into my awareness as I was writing the Sophia Code. It wasn't before that. I wasn't ready to see that. And so it was when I really started to let Quan Yin in as a mentor that I started to identify this seemingly sometimes precarious journey with my adult consciousness speaking to the inner child within. And you really have to, again, visualize this as a child that you would speak to outside of yourself, who lives within you. And it's a relationship that grows with every conversation, every day, every month, every year. Your inner child isn't going to be satisfied with like, hey, I love you, once in your life. Just like any other child wouldn't be satisfied with that either. This is a part of you. This is a part of you that wants to play, that wants to not have to always be an adult. It's a part of you that wants to receive healing the way they need it, not the way you think they need it. It's a part of you that wants to be included in the decisions that you're making as an adult. They don't want to be in control, just like their children don't want to be in control of their parents, even though they'll test the boundaries of their parents to see if their parents are the safe place that they can run up against and know, that there's a safety mechanism there, that they're being held and cared for, and shown what's really healthy or not healthy. And that same relationship is happening within you. So what Quan Yin initiates, along with Mother Mary in the Sophia Code, is the understanding that your higher self is the spiritual mother and father of the wounded inner child. And that higher self, divine parent, is teaching your human awareness how to be a mommy or daddy to your inner child. And again, it's a journey. It's a daily journey. It does not happen overnight. It took me years to get to a harmonious relationship with my inner child. And I always know when I'm out of balance, because I can feel the intensity rising of what she needs and wants that I might not be paying attention to. And I can feel the intensity in my body growing, like, oh, this part of my consciousness is about to show me in ways that I don't want to see. Because the inner child, when it's really wounded, it will create circumstances or events or feelings inside of you that feel extraordinarily uncomfortable or downright disruptive. And it's your own consciousness trying to get your attention to how much is being ignored. And so this is why we sit still in meditation. This is why we take time to journal, to listen to our own consciousness, to be kind enough to ask ourselves the questions through self-love and self-compassion about what is really important for our own hearts. Like, how do we really want to be treating this part of our consciousness? Do we really want to be parents that are ignoring these parts of ourselves? So for example, my inner kid loves ice cream. As an adult, I cannot eat dairy to save my life. So I always in some way get indigestion from anything dairy. But my inner kid loves ice cream. So what do? We occasionally, and I'd also, as an adult, don't want to eat a bunch of sugar, but when there's a moment that I feel is totally appropriate, that we celebrate a life moment, and she wants ice cream, we go out and we have ice cream with friends. And that's fun. It's like all the adult rules are off, other than like, I don't want my adult belly to hurt, so here's some vegan ice cream. And we're doing it with friends, and let's have some light conversation. And it's just like, does my inner child have to eat ice cream every day? No, because I'm the adult and I'm the mother of the inner child. But we can reserve it for fun play dates or celebratory moments. And this is where we see like people that are attempting to placate an incredibly sad or wounded inner child with eating disorders. Right? It's because they haven't activated an awareness of like the adult that can help guide the wounded child within, and having those healing conversations about what are the healthy boundaries, what is the context when food can be a treat without it being harmful to the adult. And those are conversations that need to happen within through a lot of compassion and a lot of grace and a lot of understanding that these are conversations that are going to be continually unfolding. Your relationship with your own heart and this inner child is a work in progress. It's just like any other relationship. It gets better and better with time, and you have to put in the time to learn who this person is inside of you.